Coming up on CTV Sports, CSU alum Janae Deloach makes us all proud to be CSU Rams.
The football team loses a potential starter before seeing the field. What will his absence mean?
And the nationally ranked volleyball team takes the court for the first time this season. Were they able to defend the fort, and how will they finish the season? We'll give you our opinions and more coming up on our all-new CTV Sports.
Welcome back to a brand new semester of CTV Sports. My name is Ryan Hillman, and this semester of CTV Sports, I get to have two brand new co-anchors, Riley Adams and Scott Houston. You guys, you excited for the semester or what?
Oh, I'm so pumped. It's going to be a great season for CSU Sports. Can't wait.
Yeah, a lot of change in all of our programs this year. A lot of potential for some good seasons for CSU.
Yep, I'm super excited. So let's get this show started with some quick CSU sports stories in Around the Fort. Starting off with some Olympic news, in case you didn't know, a big congratulations to CSU alum Janae Deloach. The former track and field athlete for the Rams won a bronze medal in the women's long jump competition this summer in the London Olympics. Deloach's best jump out of her 5 attempts reached a length of 6.89 meters. From everyone here at CTV Sports, we'd all like to say, way to represent all of us Rams. Now it started with football with Coach McElwain, then both basketball teams followed with the hiring of Coach Stacy and Ryan Williams, and now CSU men's golf has a new coach. Christian Newton will now be the coach of the CSU men's golf team this season. Newton comes to CSU from Georgia Tech, where he was voted the top assistant golf coach in the nation last year. Athletic Director Jack Graham said about the hire, "Adding a coach of Newton's talent gives me a great confidence that we can compete as one of the nation's top 20 programs." The men's golf will compete in the Miranda Falcon Invitational next weekend. And finally, CSU women's volleyball season began last Friday during the Rocky Mountain Invitational. The Lady Rams began the season ranked 25th in the nation, and they lived up to that ranking last weekend by sweeping the tournament, beating Virginia, Rhode Island, and Denver. We'll be discussing them a little later. Women's volleyball later in the show, but now I'm going to send it over to Scott Houston, who's going to give you a preview of this season's football roster.
All right, well, despite all the work that the football team has done this past offseason, not everyone has stayed with the team. CSU lost some key players on both sides of the ball, starting with our former starting quarterback, Mr. Pete Thomas. Thomas led the Rams to 2, 3, and 9 seasons in his 2 years as our starting quarterback. But when Coach Mack announced this past winter that he was replacing Coach Fairchild, Thomas announced that he was transferring to North Carolina State. Thomas was often criticized for his not-so-long passes, despite what you're seeing there. But the other major offensive loss was backup running back Dorian Brown. Brown had been struggling with a knee injury and hadn't seen the field in 2 years. He dropped out of the university for personal reasons during this camp this past offseason. It's a shame that he wasn't able to see the field again. We wish him the best in his future. But the other way more dramatic losses came on the other side of the ball. Defensive end Nordley Cappy was kicked off the team and expelled from the university last semester after he was involved in a fight with other CSU students. Cappy led the team in sacks and broke the record for a single game forced fumbles. Also involved in that fight was linebacker Mike Arakpo. Arakpo was also expelled from the school after the fight and has since transferred to the Baylor Bears. Also lost in that fight was D lineman Colton Pajas, and defensive end CJ James also left in a transfer to take him back to his hometown so he could be closer to his family. But Coach Mack didn't let all those lost players bother him too much. He plugged those holes this past offseason with the first addition of our newfound pass rusher, Eli Edwards, the speedy defensive end that racked up almost 50 tackles last season in Division II. Looked for Edwards to replace Cappy on that defensive end slot, really getting after the quarterback and pressure in the backfield. The other replacement on the line will be from Big Shaq Walker. Big Shaq Walker. Walker will be quite the plug in the offensive line since he's 6'2" and weighs 320 pounds. He is not one to be pushed around and fits that size that Coach Mack has been trying to build on the offensive side. Really look for him to be the run stopper that we've been missing. Emerging as the most likely backup for Chris Woke is the offensive star of this class. Running back Donald Alexander. Alexander has the speed to get away from pretty much any defender at any time, and it showed in his high school games as he was able to rack up over 1,000 yards rushing and over 300 yards receiving in his senior year. So he ended up losing quite a few defensive playmakers, but Eli Edwards, Lanston Tannehill, and Calvin Tonga are all junior college transfers that have the ability to fill those roles right now if we need them. Other key additions like Joe Hansley and Donald Alexander should help getting back that offensive spark and overcoming the offensive struggles that we had last year.
And speaking of losses, Scott, when football season rolls around, inevitably, injuries follow. This rang true for junior wide receiver Thomas Kaufman. Recently, Kaufman complained of lower abdominal pains and underwent surgery soon after. Kaufman could and most likely will miss the whole season for the Rams this year. Kaufman impressed last season with the team leading the yards per catch and was already set to start. With Kaufman out for 2 to 3 weeks, head coach Jim McElwain sees this as an opportunity for another player to step up rather than a setback. All eyes are on sophomores Lee Clubb and Charles Levitt to fulfill Kaufman's position. All right, well, coming up, all three of us will be discussing what our thoughts on the on-campus stadium are, as well as how good the volleyball team can actually be this year, right after this break.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to CTV Sports. If you're just joining us, I am Scott Houston with Ryan Hillman and Riley Adams alongside me. And guys, it's time to talk some CSU sports. And we'll start with what has been arguably the biggest sports story at CSU other than the coaching changes, and that is the possibility of an on-campus stadium being built. Tony Frank has said that the decision will come on October 4th, either to build it or not. So what are your opinions on the possibility of us getting this new stadium?
You know, I think it will be only beneficial to the football team, and I think an on-campus stadium will really rally more students to come.
You know, I agree, Riley. I mean, the way they've been bashing Hughes, I don't see how they can't build a new stadium. So definitely look for them to build a new one.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, I talked about it earlier, but volleyball got off to a great start this past weekend. Started the season ranked 25th and now 24th in the nation. What are your guys' expectations for the year?
You know, I think we have the potential to have one of our best seasons in quite some time. The Mountain West is not that strong of a conference. CSU has always been a standout team. With all these returning players, look for them to run the tables.
You know, and I think last weekend was a really good example and evidence that we're going to have a great season. You know, Deidre Foss got all MVP tournament of the Rocky Mountain Invitational. I'm excited for this season. I think it's going to be a great one.
Yep.
Well, we know volleyball is good, but a team that might be better this year is the basketball team. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so excited for basketball season to start. We have a bunch of starters returning. Guys, can you see CSU men's basketball making a run at the Mountain West Conference title? Ryan?
You know, I think we can. I mean, you look at our starting five, all returning seniors, Colton Iverson, Daniel Bijarno back in the team now. You gotta love it. And you Stacy focused on the defense, Miles was offense. We all know defense wins games. Definitely look us to be top 3, if not the top team in the Mountain West this league.
You know, I don't think we should have too high of expectations for this team. Like you, Stacy, has said, we are still in a very, very strong conference. San Diego State and UNLV are really the dominant forces, even though San Diego State will be leaving soon. We're right up there with UNM right now, but I think we're going to be one of the better teams in the conferences.
Couldn't agree more. All right, well, coming up after the break, we get you prepared for the 2012 CSU football season, giving you insight on how well CSU will do this weekend and for the rest of the season.
Welcome to my block party. Glad you can make it.
The only triple doubles you get come with fries.
Last time you blocked someone, you were online.
I can do this all day. Your moves are just gay.
Using gay to mean dumb or stupid, not cool.
Not cool.
Not in my house, not anywhere. It's not creative, it's offensive to gay people. And you're better than that.
Welcome back to CTV. Scott Houston here along with Ryan and Riley, and it is now time to talk some football. So much to talk about when it comes to this team. I talked a lot about the players that we lost, the players we added. Riley, you mentioned some of the injuries that we've sustained. But guys, let's just get right to it. How do you think this team will fare this upcoming season?
You know, well, looking at the schedule, I think we're definitely going to be better than 3-9, that's for sure. But look for us to be maybe 4-8 or 5-7. No bowl game this year. Maybe we'll be surprised and like Fairchild, McElwain will lead us to a bowl game the first season. But I think that's a big shocker. I don't think Woke can lead this whole team the whole season. Our defense is young, and look for Barrett to lead it. But besides that, I think we're 4-8 again.
And I couldn't agree more. I think we're going to do much better than last season, but as much as Jim McElwain has put into this team, you can't rebuild an entire team over a fall and summer camp. So definitely better than last season, but we've got a couple years to rebuild.
Yeah. Our strength of schedule really will help us out. They're one of the easiest schedules in all of college football.
Yep. Scott, like you said earlier, a lot of new faces for this team.
Yes.
Give me a player you think will be the biggest factor that no one might have heard before.
Well, this is sort of a semi-new face. It'll be our returning starting quarterback, Garrett Grayson, the sophomore coming into this year, has the potential to be one of the biggest offensive playmakers in the entire Mountain West. He has the speed in his legs, and he has a very strong arm, but he's got to keep it down on those interceptions. If he's able to do that, I have high hopes for this team.
And my eyes are on junior linebacker Shaquille Barrett. I think with all the defensive players that we've lost, we need someone to fill that hole. He led the team with 8 tackles and 4 sacks in the last scrimmage that we had, so I think we really need to look at him. All right, guys, we mentioned it before. The biggest game of every season is this Saturday at 2 at Sports Authority Field, the Rocky Mountain Showdown against the Evil Empire, the CU Buffs. Let me get your guys' predictions on who's going to win the game this weekend.
You know, I see it being a close game in the first half, maybe a 14-14, but then honestly, I think CSU is going to run away with it. CU has really struggled in their secondary. They've lost most of it to either the draft or graduating seniors, and they've actually been ranked as having one of the bottom 5 secondaries in the nation this year. So if we can take advantage of that, I think good things are going to happen for CSU. Look for us to get our first win against them in 3 years.
You know, I couldn't agree, Scott, anymore. They won our freshman year, so why not win our senior year?
Why not?
I mean, biggest thing for the Rams right now, Paul Richardson, CU's running back, is out with a knee injury, and he single-handedly beat us last year.
Absolutely.
So that's a good thing for us going. They're a young team just like us, but look for Grayson to shred their secondary, and let's pass on them all day.
Yep.
CSU wins.
Yep.
I couldn't agree more. I think CSU definitely has a great chance, especially with Paul Richardson now. I mean, he scared me last game. I know that. I definitely do.
That 10-minute, 80-yard drive ruined us last year.
Scared
Still
me.
burns my soul.
Well, that's all we have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in next week for a full analysis of the Rocky Mountain Showdown. Actually, we won't be returning next week after the holiday.
After the holiday. But we hope all of you go to that game. We were a little frightened when we heard how many student tickets were left, but I'm sure the CSU fan base will be out there in full force.
And know about it, but hey, on an unrelated note, if you didn't know, the President of the United States himself will be on campus tomorrow, and CTV will be covering the whole event. Tune in tomorrow night at 5 for a very special live show covering his entire speech.
That's right. We'll have Dylan, Katie, Lena, Sean, and Michael covering everything you need to know about his speech. And we'll be live streaming everything at our website at ctv11.com.
So don't forget, if you didn't get a ticket, you can follow us starting at 5 p.m. for complete coverage of Obama's speech. All right, we're running out of time. If we don't see you guys at the Showdown this weekend, then we'll see you 2 Mondays from now, Monday night. Take it easy.